The night pressed down on the city like a held breath, humid and metallic, every surface sweating under sodium lights. From the rooftop across the plaza, the sniper lay still, cheek welded to stock, listening to the rhythm of the place. Generators humming, a distant siren, the wind needling between concrete ribs. Below, the asset moved inside a glass-walled atrium, too close to the threat for the SEAL team to take a clean shot. One wrong trigger squeeze, and the mission would end in smoke and apologies. The sniper felt the familiar calm settle in, the kind that made time stretch thin and obedient. The SEALs were ghosts in the shadows, stacked behind planters and kiosks, fingers curled but disciplined. Over comms, the whisper came through, tight with restraint. They couldn't fire. The asset was a breath away from the hostile cluster. Too much glass, too much ricochet, too much risk. The sniper studied the geometry like a puzzle that wanted to be solved. Angles talking to angles, surfaces offering promises if asked the right way. He wasn't looking at people so much as lines and vectors, the story of how force moved when persuaded. He let his gaze trace the atrium's bones, steel struts, marble columns polished to a mirror, the beveled edge of a fountain that caught light and flung it back like a dare. He saw how sound would bounce, how a round would argue with stone before deciding where to go next. 7 angles appeared in his mind, not as numbers, but as a rhythm. Tap, turn, slide, kiss, fall, answer, hush. 7 chances to be wrong, 7 chances to be right, all of them threaded through the same needle. The first shot wasn't a shot so much as a suggestion. It kissed a steel strut at a shallow angle, a whisper of metal on metal that redirected the energy like a polite nudge at a crowded party. The hostile nearest the asset flinched at the sound, attention pulling away just enough. The second met the marble column, a careful introduction that shaved momentum and sent the round gliding low, skimming the polished floor where it lost its voice and died harmlessly against a rubber mat. No panic yet, just confusion, which was the sniper's favorite terrain. The third angle was bolder, catching the fountain's lip where water slicked the stone. The round skipped, shedding heat and intent, turning the splash into a brief distraction, white noise, nothing more. A hostile stumbled back, boots slipping, grip loosening. The asset froze, eyes wide, but unhurt, untouched. The SEALs shifted imperceptibly, reading the change like sailors feeling a current turn beneath them. By the fourth, the atrium felt alive, the way a room does when it knows something is happening but can't decide what. The sniper adjusted by millimeters, breathing slow, letting the wind do what it always did. The round found a glass edge engineered to be strong, not clever. It cracked, spiderwebbing without exploding, energy bleeding away into harmless tremors. The sound was sharp but contained, a warning that arrived without a wound. The fifth angle was the hinge of the plan. It caught a security railing, not square, never square, and rode it like a rail car, guided and humbled, before nudging a light fixture. Sparks flared, bright and brief, plunging one corner of the atrium into shadow. In that shadow, the SEALs became rumors. In that shadow, the hostiles hesitated, the way people do when certainty takes a step back. The sixth was mercy disguised as precision. It glanced off a concrete bench, a place meant for rest, and went flat, slapping the floor with a dull finality that convinced everyone it had reached the end of its story. The hostile leader ducked on instinct, a lifetime of bad decisions teaching him when to lower his head. He didn't know he was being shepherded, that fear could be a hand on the small of your back, guiding you exactly where someone else wanted you to stand. The seventh angle was the answer. It took the longest path, the kind that looks like overthinking until it works. It kissed steel, greeted marble, nodded to glass, and arrived with nothing left to give but direction. It struck a fire suppression pipe, clean and intentional, and the atrium bloomed with white rain. Alarms howled, visibility collapsed into a harmless blizzard. Water soaked weapons, slicked floors, erased lines of sight. 0 damage, maximum change. The SEALs moved then, not firing, not shouting, just appearing where the world had gone soft. Hands grabbed, bodies turned, weapons were gently convinced to leave their owners. The asset was wrapped in a jacket, guided out with words that were calm and ordinary, the way you talk to someone when you don't want them to remember the fear later. In the chaos, nobody noticed the sniper rise, stretch the ache out of his shoulder, and begin the slow ritual of leaving no trace. When it was over, the atrium looked like a place that had survived a minor storm, wet, loud, intact. Glass stood where it should, stone bore no scars worth telling stories about. The hostiles sat on the floor, blinking, embarrassed by how quickly the night had turned against them. The SEALs melted away with the asset, mission complete, without a single direct hit fired near what mattered. On the rooftop, the city resumed its breath. The sniper packed up, every movement economical, respectful. He didn't think about the 7 angles as triumphs or tricks. He thought of them as conversations he'd had with the building, agreements reached without raising his voice. There was satisfaction in that, the quiet kind that didn't need a witness. Later, over comms, a SEAL let a laugh slip, soft and grateful. "0 damage," he said, like he was still surprised. The sniper smiled at the night, at the geometry that had behaved, at the truth that sometimes the best way through was around. Then he disappeared into the dark, leaving the city exactly as he'd found it, standing.